The last time I spoke in ICI was ICI 9, I think, and now it's 12. And interestingly, today is an auspicious date, 12/12/12. I didn't realize it until a few weeks ago when I was trying to remember, okay, when am I speaking, when am I speaking? I was trying to avoid everything else. And then I realized, hey, it's 12/12/12. So it's really historic in terms of time, yeah, in terms of the appearance of the date. And on my way to work here this morning, I was told that, on the radio, I heard that 3 times the number of marriages will take place today in Malaysia. So it's an auspicious date. All right, what I'd like to do this morning is to talk about transforming learning via social media and how social media presents us opportunities for student engagement. I also noticed from the program book that quite a number of papers are going to be on social media. And some of them are based on research, some of them are based on stories of what's been done in various institutions in Malaysia and Indonesia. The ones I saw, yeah? It could be papers from other countries as well. So I'm not going to go into detail, but what I'd like to do is to present a framework for the use of social media in general and how it has the potential to transform learning in higher education. Okay, first things first, I think to borrow the words of, was it Stephen Covey? How many of you have been on the internet for more than almost 20 years? Yeah? How many of you have been on the internet for almost 20 years? Not so many. Okay, some. How many of you have been on the internet for more than 10 years? All right. Now, for those of you who have been on the internet 20 years ago, you may have used Archie, Gopher, Veronica, FTP. Those were what I started with. Very primitive and not easy to use. If you were to ask anyone to use today, it's not very easy and it's not very attractive either. But today you have things like Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, WordPress, Ning, and a whole lot more, hundreds of those tools. Facebook, I think last month, said that they have now 1 billion accounts. That's a lot of accounts. And Twitter, which I think came, came into being maybe slightly later than Facebook, is behind with 105 million accounts. It's still a lot of accounts. And yesterday when I was at the park doing my morning walks, I passed by these 2 old ladies, well, older ladies. They were in their 60s or 70s, and they were talking about Googling for information. You know, I just managed to just catch that part. You wouldn't have had 60 plus or 70 plus year olds talking about use of computers 10 years ago, but today it's different. And I remember when I was still a student in 1982, and I was excited to see this on the cover of Time magazine. The computer is the man of the year, or the machine of the year. Why? Because at that time I had already gone into microcomputers. And I liked, at that time, what microcomputers were able to do for learning and teaching. And of course, Zuckerberg has made his impact. 2010, he was named Person of the Year by Time magazine. And it has been a span of how many years? 30 years, yeah? Since the computer was recognized, and then Facebook or Zuckerberg was recognized. 30 years. But the years have gone by very quickly without us realizing it. And internet became popular in the mid-90s, yeah? So we've gone a long, long way. But education, unfortunately, has been slower in catching up with the ICT development. And of course, we all know the iPads. How many of you have iPads at the moment in this room? I can see a few people using it. Yeah, the iPad was invented 2 years ago. Not too long ago, but it feels as though it's been a long time, hasn't it? Because it's so pervasive. Everyone's carrying it. You go into the shopping mall, you see people carrying it. You go on the train, you see people using it. And if you know, the Malaysian, what do they call it? The train from Central to KLIA, that whole journey you can be on the internet using the fiber optic network connection for free. And it's fast, you know? So many things can be done. As I said, education has been quite slow to catch up. There's one article in a journal titled, "So Last Century." It's written by a professor of English at the Franklin Humanities Institute. And Kathy Davidson said, about 100 years ago, higher education restructured to meet the needs of the industrial age. It has changed little since, even as the internet has transformed life. Another revolution is needed to modernize universities and prepare graduates for a 21st century working environment. You may ask yourself, aren't we doing that? Maybe not enough. Yeah? Why this article? This was only published last year. And she goes on to say, the history of 20th century higher education has been the history of assessing individual achievement, measuring, certifying, and quantifying outcomes and outputs. New sorting and attentional skills, collaborative skills, judgment and logical skills, synthesizing and analytical abilities, critical and creative skills, and so on, need to be produced among students. These are sometimes called the 21st century literacies. And I think this was 6 months ago when this was published, in June 13th, in the local newspapers. It says that our graduates, without the soft skills, are victims of system. So it's not content only that's important, but the skills, which would be naturally developed or naturally obtained if they were to use a lot of ICT in higher education. So that's my premise, actually. I'm trying to promote. I'm always promoting use of ICT. At first, it was the computers, computer literacy, and it was the CAI, and then it was multimedia learning, and then it was internet-based learning, web-based learning, and now it is social learning based on social media. Peter Drucker says, don't try to innovate for the future, innovate for the present. We cannot wait. We shouldn't wait. And maybe I'd like to share with you, it's about 4 minutes and 40 seconds long, a video titled The Future Starts Now. This was only uploaded last week. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. It talks about the school, but it can be applied to higher education. And as we know, in the US, there are quite a number of dropouts from the universities, and also quite a number of students are hesitating to get into the university because they don't want to get into debt. So it is an issue. All right, questions are the answers. I'm going to ask a few questions, and I hope you will be able or be willing to participate. All right, questions are the answers. How many of you have a smartphone? Everybody? Yeah, in this room? Do you have a tablet? Do you have a tablet? Hands up. Some of you are not putting up your hands, I think. Do you have a Facebook account? Yeah, okay. Do you use Facebook as a learning tool? Not just for communication, not to post your family stories or personal stories or your food or what you have eaten, but for learning. Not yet, huh? Some of you have. Some of the papers I saw, I think, will talk about this. And I have. Some of the OUM lecturers have. Those who took my module on trends and issues, I think, in higher education earlier this year, you would have participated in that Facebook group. So you know what I mean when we say that Facebook can support learning in a very nice way. Okay, hopefully, it's not about this. Even if you're broke, I think you would have learned a lot. Part 2, questions. Do the majority of your students have a smartphone? Yes. Majmin, do you think OUM students have a lot of smartphones? A lot of them have smartphones? Yes. And then coupled with the Wi-Fi access at the learning centers, they can access anything. Do the majority of students have a tablet? Maybe not yet. Maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, they will. Do the majority of your students have a Facebook account? Almost all, I think, yeah? Doesn't matter what country. So with that, I'm just focusing on Facebook for now, but that is the most readily, most ready choice to use, yeah? To support learning or to produce learning. So can we use Facebook as a learning tool? How many of you will say yes? I know a lot of us like the learning management system, but there's been a lot of, in the literature, comparisons between the learning management system and Facebook. If it's not Facebook, it can be any other thing that has features similar to the Facebook, yeah? And nowadays, learning management systems are incorporating social media elements. Okay, if we look at Facebook growth, between just 1 year, you can see that it's been growing very rapidly, from 664 million to 835 million in Q1, and just last, I think it was Q3, to 1 billion. It's a very, very dynamic growth, yeah, in terms of numbers. If you look at the Facebook users in the world by regions as of 2 or 3 months ago, you'll see that Asia is 236 million. That's quite a lot compared to Europe, 243.2 million. I think these are the 2 continents that are represented, yeah, in this room. And social media has become part and parcel of students' lives. Why can't we use it, or why don't we consider using those? Of course, we have to design it, yeah? We don't just let them use for the sake of using it. Going beyond communication, going beyond announcements, yeah? We can use it for learning. I know some people will not agree with me, but there is potential. There's quite a lot of potential. Learning management systems should begin to incorporate social media elements, because otherwise it's kind of dry. Those of you who understand constructivist learning will understand that. So there are many tools. There can be constructivist learning. If you see this thing here, connecting with things, with people, yeah, with materials. And there we come to transforming learning. If you look at the internet milestones, somewhere in 1969 was when the internet was first formed with the ARPANET, 1969. The World Wide Web, Mosaic, appeared in 1994. That was after, before that was FTP, Archie, Veronica, and all. And then social media, 2000 plus. The iPhone made a big difference to people's lives. Then the iPad, even bigger difference. And then the iCloud in 2011 was announced by the late Stephen Jobs. All this have an impact. How many of you know what this is? A slate, right? Primitive slate. How many of you use this? Then you're showing your age, right? Oh, it is? Okay. Digital, was it? Okay. Now, I used this when I was young, but it was invented in 1890. It was used for many years. When I was using it, it was 1960-something, you know, it was still around. And now, of course, today, the tablet, same size, but a lot more, a lot more things that you can do with it. And of course, when Steve Jobs announced the iCloud, then I realized, wow, this is going to make a big difference, a bigger difference. Because once you have cloud computing, let's not talk just about the iCloud, but in general, cloud computing, your hard disk is in the cloud. Your email, like OUM's email, is in the cloud. Everything, yeah, anything can be in the cloud, yeah? So that has made a huge difference. We don't have to carry thumb drives, actually. We just upload into the Dropbox, and then just download again, as long as you have internet connection. You don't have to make your own videos. You know, all the videos you want, all there in the cloud. Yeah, thousands, hundreds of them, hundreds and thousands of them. Now, interestingly, there are some books that support all these ideas. What it's saying is this. Yeah, when I said earlier that education is slow to catch up, yeah, compared to the ICT development, education is also the slowest among industries to catch up. It says here, this book says here, while industries such as music, newspapers, film, and publishing have seen radical changes in their business models and practices as a direct result of new technologies, higher education has so far resisted the wholesale changes we have seen elsewhere. However, a gradual and fundamental shift in the practice of academics is taking place, so that's good news. And every aspect of scholarly practice is seeing changes affected by the adoption and possibilities of new technologies. So the next question is, have we done enough? Are we doing the right things? There are more books related to this topic: Rethinking Learning for a Digital Age, A New Culture of Learning, 5 Minds for the Future, Learning Futures. And this one, I think we'll get to it in a while. I can't remember the title. Okay, just to highlight 2 of those books, Learning Futures, the first one. It draws on 10 years of research into educational innovation and socio-technical change. The author makes a case for recognizing the challenges that the next 2 decades may bring. And this includes, among others, the emergence of new relationships between humans and technology. However, the book also says that there is potential, but there must be sound curriculum design and the establishment of good learning ecologies. So it's not just something that will automatically happen. This book is called Rethinking University Teaching. Teachers in higher education have had to become more professional in their approach to teaching. And this book provides a sound theoretical basis for designing and using learning technologies in university teaching. So there's always a design. If you design it for a certain purpose, you will achieve it. If you don't design it for anything, you'll probably not see anything. Now, among the, if you look for top trends, top 10 trends, or top 7 trends, or top 6 trends in higher education, you'll find that social learning using social media is one of the trends. Yeah? And what they're saying is, generally, the tool is now the common environment. It's not the physical classroom. It is a tool, because the tool is with you all the time, 24/7. Even when you're sleeping, it's next to you, isn't it? Yes? How many of you have your phone next to you? There was one participant I met when I asked. He said he has the phone under his pillow. My God, that's not good, yeah? But, you know, that's how close your phone is, you know, to you. Okay, I'm not sure whether I should show this. I won't show this because I think you understand the concept of social media. But if not, you Google for this, because this is, I found this uploaded on the 10th, if I'm not mistaken, 10th of December. So it's a recent upload, but it tells you, gives you the explanation of what social media is in terms of, you know, how you interact and all that. Yeah, it's not just getting, you know, not like a lecture. Yeah, it's more than that. It's interactive, it's collaborative, and so on. And there are so many social learning environments that we can think of. It could be blog-based, could be Twitter-based, could be Facebook-based, it could be YouTube-based, it could be Skype, but not Skype-based entirely, but it can be a blend of so many social tools, social media tools. And in doing so, we're going to create and support virtual learning communities, which the young people are so comfortable with. Some of you are, aren't you? These virtual learning communities, yeah? Some of you are. Some of us don't want to, so that's fine. But the young people generally, if it's not about learning, the subject matter of higher education, they're learning about other things. And if you've been listening to me, you will have seen these slides many times already. But again, there's no other way to communicate the concept of centralized learning. It is what we used to do, is what our teachers used to do. They will tell us everything that we need to know. Right? They will tell us everything we need to know. Even now students, because they're so encultured with that, they will ask, okay, do I study based on the module, or do I study based on the module and what the teacher says? Because they're so examination driven, they're so assessment driven. They only want to study what will be tested, and they want to know whether what will be tested will be based on the module, or the module plus tutorials, or the module plus tutorials and assignments, or whatever, you know. So centralized learning is when we just give everything that the students need to know. But today, a lot of educationists are talking about learner-centric learning, meaning we provide as many things as possible in the form of materials, any shape and form, so that it becomes flexible, so that the students will determine what they want. So we're going to be supporting the various learning styles here. If a student prefers to read, let them pull to them learning materials which are text-based form. If they prefer to listen, maybe podcasts, audio podcasts. If they prefer to watch a video, let them get the video. So maybe providing different forms. If they prefer to discuss online, interact, let them have access to the forums, yeah, or social media wall kind of thing like the Facebook. And what we need to do is transform from this push learning to pull learning. Maybe not entirely pull. Maybe one day it will be pull. Who knows? But at the moment, I think it has to be a blend. Again, another video, but I'm not going to show that. But let's talk about social media, in particular, the opportunities. Okay, if we think about what happens in 60 seconds online, you'll see that, okay, I think you can see right from there, 168 million emails sent. But did you know that young people don't go into email? Did you realize that? The younger people do not go into email so much. They go into messaging. Yeah? There's WhatsApp. There's, what else? Viber. There's